Hey guys, welcome to the first Kung Fu Ronin podcast.
What's up?
Okay, today we're joined by Chen and Arthur Evo. They're both.
What's up?
Hey guys. They're both Kung Fu practitioners, and all of us live in Hong Kong. So with this podcast, what we're going to try to do is tell you about different things about training in Hong Kong, Kung Fu styles in Hong Kong, and everything Kung Fu in Hong Kong. If you have any questions or topics you want to know, leave some in the comments. And for today, our first topic would be Kung Fu styles in Hong Kong and what is a Sifu and basic things you need to know if you're coming to Hong Kong to train.
Cool. Yeah.
Like that topic?
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so when people think about Kung Fu in southern China, they think of it as one block. So they think
It's probably mostly like Fat San, like Hong Kun, Choi Lei Fat, these kind of, because of the Wang Fei Hong movies. And then probably Wing Chun now because of the
probably Wing Chun now.
Ip Man movies.
Yeah, so these are all the Cantonese styles, right? So the ones that made it to the movies, the Hong Kun and the Choi Lei Fat and some other styles. But actually there are other styles in Hong Kong too, like the Hakka styles and the Hoi Lok Fong styles, among other styles. These are the southern-based styles.
What's Hoi Lok Fong?
Hoi Lok Fong is like a town in southern, an area in southern China. It's Hoi Fong and Lok Fong, and their styles. One of the styles I practice is called Choi Mok Pai. It's a style from that area, and they say the styles from there are super practical because there used to be pirates along the coast all the time. So styles, Hoi Lok Fong styles include Choi Mok Pai, something called Lo San Pai, which you see in Hong Kong, and then some really special looking styles that you don't see anywhere else. So that's pretty interesting.
It makes it unique.
So it's a rare style, and there's Hakka styles, and you guys both do Hakka styles too.
I think it's like, I guess for the Hakka styles, it would be like Hong Kong was their main place to jump off into the world, I guess. So a lot of Hakka systems now, they have their home like HQ in Hong Kong, right? So like Bat Mei and like Long Yang, right? And also Southern Mantis, but then there's different branches of Southern Mantis, but they all still have like their main kind of headquarters in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay. So well, you mentioned Mantis, so that would be Chow Gar and Zhuk Lam Tong Long and Ju Ga. Okay.
And there is some Ju Ga Gao still here, right? Ju Ga Gao.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, the traditional village Ju Ga Gao, not just like the Ju Ga Tong.
I don't know, I'm asking. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think traditionally it's like Ju Ga Gao. It was, according to the stories, it's like it starts as Ju Ga Gao, which is like teachings, right? Instead of Kun, which is fist. So then all the Hakka styles, they have like, it ends in a Gao instead of Kun or Chun or whatever you guys want to say, or fist. So then it's like Lei Ga Gao, Ju Ga Gao. So it's like different family teaching instead of family fist, like Hong Kun, Hong Ga Kun, which is Hong fist. So instead of using fist, they use teaching. And then according to just whatever people say, I don't know if it's true or not, but then the Tong Long part was added later on when they came to Hong Kong, like after they came to Hong Kong. So then that's
I've
what you
heard many
find
stories about that. Some people said that, they called it Tong Long to disguise it and hide it. There's all
That's a cool story.
Fan Qing Fok Ming, to overthrow the Ming, overthrow the Qing or stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's all these but then you don't know, are they just stories? Are they just,
Actually, that Fan Qing Fok Ming story is a very common one in all the southern styles. It's more common in southern styles than the northern styles.
To do with the Hong Mun, right? The Hong Gate is the origin of the Fan Qing Fok Ming thing. Is that where it's from, or Tin Bei Wu or something?
Right. Those secret societies, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty
more
interesting.
southern based, I guess, those kind of stories versus northern.
Yeah. And then I think the northern styles also had their little groups too. But they got shut down really quickly.
I think they're too close to like the
capital?
central capital, the central power, so they're not gonna they don't have a chance to
They'd be like, when you're done, right?
So in Hong Kong, I've got a strong connection for over 10, 12, probably 14 years with the Lo San Pai underground groups here. I call them underground because they're kind of hidden. The one's always moving. So
Okay.
what happens is because the students don't really pay like what we call hok fai in Hong Kong, is they don't pay like tuition fees to learn this style, because a lot of it they're introduced to their uncle, their cousin, their thing, because they all are Hok Lo.
Oh, right,
Hok Lo
right,
people.
right.
Majority of the people who go there are all Hok Lo, except for 1 or 2 that I know that learn the Lo San Pai
Okay.
style. So they all go in there, they don't pay fees. What happens is they do shows, they do different performances, or they get people to sponsor them.
Okay.
And then they run like a Kita clinic and do kind of medicine stuff to fund those things, or they do banquets and dinners and things to raise money for the group.
Right,
different
right,
things
right.
like that. But they're very underground.
They are.
And then this, like you said, the style's similar. It's a little bit similar to Hakka because the only in stance, because they use like similar to like Samgot Ma, or sometimes a little bit wider.
Or lower, right?
Lower.
Yeah.
But it looks more similar than other styles, I would say. But the hand movement is really different, and the engine is
It's completely different.
completely different. The language they use is sometimes Hok Lo Wa mixed
Okay.
with Cantonese,
Cantonese.
when I'm there.
Oh, wow, okay.
So and then they do they still do the Soilun, you know, their own type of
dance.
unicorn or lion dance.
Yeah,
They have-
right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
they use the Soilun.
Maybe I'll find a video of them doing a performance and just post it here.
Yeah, we can cut to it because I got a lot of footage as well.
Oh, nice,
of
thank
them. And they have their own unique weapons.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the spear-looking thing they use with. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah,
long-
like a needle, right?
Yeah, like a needle.
Yeah.
What's the name of that one?
I have no idea. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
But how would you describe?
So it's like a sword on top of,
Yeah.
like a straight sword on top of a stick.
No,
it's like a needle.
Metal,
Yeah.
thing, almost like a fisherman's thing. To it looks like
Oh, so it's like an actual just like long.
No, do they stab with it or do they hack with it?
what I've seen is they stab more with that one.
Because there's
Yeah.
another like metal thing that they use in another hollow style called chow pai. We call it the gan, which is imagine a blunt sword, but it's like heavy metal about this long, this long with a handle, and you basically just whack with it. It's heavy, and it's pretty destructive. So I thought it was that, but no. If you
They
stab with
have
it,
tit
it's
chat. They have the sai, what we call in Western word the sai. They have
Oh,
tit
right,
chat.
right.
They have those other weapons. The interesting thing about these groups is they're very sort of, I would call it Bailok style or China style in regard to, it's not your Western style martial arts training school because
Right.
people smoke.
Oh no, they
You
are.
train and people smoking and sitting there smoking.
It's lung training. It's lung training.
But that's kind of normal. Look, it's accepted here. But if you did that in the West, they'll think you're crazy.
No,
Like,
it's a common misconception that people think Kung Fu is for health, but it was never completely for health, right? It was for training, it was for socializing, but I think eventually as society grew, we were more health conscious, and then people just developed into the practice of practicing something for health. But back in the days, they smoked, they drank, it was everything. It wasn't for health, it was for fighting and socializing, right?
I remember I was learning Hong Kun from Mok Wai Lan's student,
Okay.
Tan Jiko,
Okay.
in Sao Gay Wan. And then what we'd do is, I was young then, so I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And then I would, well, let's not mention my age, but I was in my 20s, and then during the break, so we're doing the forms, and then during break, people will go to the window and just smoke. Now I quit smoking, but you know, back then it was like, we smoke by the window, then get back to training again. It's just really funny.
Yeah.
That was the culture.
There's a video somewhere online of Ip Sui, the grandmaster, of Chow Gar putting mantis. He's demonstrating a san sao, but he has like a cigarette in his mouth. He just takes it off and then goes back to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's typical also like of the time because like even in the West, like in the 1950s or 40s, like everyone was smoking everywhere. Like
Yeah.
you know, if you guys watch like Mad Men or any of these older like videos.
In the office.
Yeah, they just
in the office,
smoking in
yeah.
the elevator or the lift, smoking in the office, smoking like on the airplane, everywhere. So it's like, I think it's just that.
Even as a kid, we saw people smoking. Well, saw people smoking
Yeah.
everywhere in the 80s. So
Yeah.
it's normal.
For me, when I was a kid, we still had flights where people smoked.
Smoking and
smoking, not smoking.
Sizzler had us smoking and non-smoking.
Yeah, in restaurants.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, but I think like because of the tradition aspect of like tradition, like Chinese martial arts, like,
Right.
people kind of just kept it going.
Yeah.
Like, so you go into the gun and it's like, oh, finally a place where I can just continue doing what I used to do. And just like,
okay.
I'm indoors smoking and then having tea or whatever, and chilling out. Versus like in the West, you can't do that because then you just get shut down or something like that.
An interesting thing I noticed is when I went to go find Sifus in Hong Kong years and years ago, and if you walk in off the street and you don't know anyone there, they're kind of weirded out. So like you go online and you see a video, like maybe in the early 2000s, I saw a video, I was like, oh, I like this style, I'm gonna go find it. So you find out the address online somehow,
right?
And you do this detective work and you find the place. But then sometimes you just go there without introduction, they're kind of weirded out, like, oh, who are you looking for? What are you doing? You know, almost like, what do you want? You know, and then they find like, oh, you know about us? Like, it's really, really strange.
It's funny, like people can't imagine the difference in teachers back in say early 2000s, maybe 1990 something compared to now. There was still a lot of, even now, especially some in the mainland, less so in Hong Kong, some teachers are still pretty conservative, some of them. I remember one time I went up to a Sifu, his stuff was online already, right? I went up to a Sifu and then his students were practicing a form. And then I was like, oh, Sifu, that form looks cool. What is it? And then he looks at me, he's like, it's a form. Like he wouldn't tell me the name, but it was just like, oh, it's a form, you know? It's a 頭腦咯.
Like just like
I'm like, oh, okay, Sifu, it looks great. But
is that an age thing? It's like you are not qualified to ask me this type of question. Is that the type of deal with that, or is that?
I actually don't know, but people think, okay, oh yeah, because we're going to talk about manners and like rules and all that when you come learn from Hong Kong. The difference between a school in Hong Kong and say abroad is you can't treat it as a lesson. It's not a gym membership. It's a school. You're there to learn. And then as a student, there are certain things you have to pay attention to. And there are certain things you can do and things you can't do. And I think before you get into the school, the teacher has to kind of accept you. Even if you pay fees, they have to accept you as a person, they have to accept you as a student before they start showing you things. So sometimes if you blast them with weird questions at the start, they'll be reluctant to tell you sometimes. And that's that. Maybe that was why, because I was a stranger who popped up into school. I'm just like, what's that? It was one of the advanced forms, right? I knew, it was online, but I knew what it was, but I just wanted to ask him.
I think my best experience and approach that I found worked for me to get the most out of my training when I came to Hong Kong, like you said, it's different from the West.
Yep.
You don't say, I paid this, I expect this. There's none of that.
They'll throw the money back at you.
Yeah. It's kind of like, the less questions I ask, the less things I said, and if I just shut up and train, then they will teach you a lot more. They'll open up to you. Like, oh, he's humble. Oh, he's quiet. He's not showing off. He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, and then you act diligent. Well, I say act, but you just be quiet and don't say anything. You know, you save your questions for you feel the right moment.
Right, yeah. That's true. I think like in the West, it's more like, I don't want to say it's commercialized, because obviously the people teach with integrity, but it's just like, people run the gyms sometimes like as their career and full time, and like they just you need to accept anyone that kind of comes into your door just like any other business. But I think for Hong Kong, like even though there are Sifus that are like full-time teachers, like I think they're more willing to like refuse a client or a customer than say like abroad. You know what I mean?
Well, back home, what you get like a uniform, a belt.
Yeah, there's no uniform. You don't like it to look cool.
No.
Like, everyone's just like dressed in whatever clothes they have,
Or from work, come straight from work.
Straight from work, and you just take off, like if you're working office, take off your button shirt, and then you just train like that.
But your experience was different when you trained in New York.
When I trained in New York, it's like Hong Kong style training. So like,
okay.
We didn't train in a gym. Like it was just like a basement under a storefront, like the storage basement. So then we come out after school or whatever. So like I don't have gym. We're not training in like martial arts like uniforms. Like we don't have gis. We don't have any. Like I'm training in jeans and Timberlands because that's what we wear. And, and like a t-shirt, or whatever, or shirtless because it can get hot. So like that's what we trained in. That's how the old school people in Hong Kong train.
Yeah.
They don't have anything like that.
And not much talking, right? There was a lot of training and not much talking.
We didn't talk that much. We talked amongst like while we were training. But I found like in Hong Kong, like the pace is like it's way slower, I think, than in New York.
Of the pace of the lesson or what you're learning?
Pace of the training, like because the training sessions like are
less intense.
Yeah, like they'll train for a little bit, go at it real hard, and then you sit down, you have tea, and you take a break and you chat a little bit.
I think it's old school style. Say, because back then the Sifu would be there from say 5 to 11, and then people appear. So it's not necessarily a class. Like people like us in the West, we would think that you appear at 7:30 and you leave at 9, or something like that.
So you cram it in that.
Or it's some, and then but with that schedule, you would expect that things should be done every moment there, right? Yeah. So it's a class. So there'd be a warm up, there'd be partner training, everything's led, everything's guided. So there'd be some form of syllabus. But when you come to Hong Kong, you find out that it's not that. People might be here from 5 till 11. People come, people go. People have work. People finish work off at different times, and then the Sifu teaches sits there and most of them actually don't lead a class. They'll be like, oh, what are you up to now? And then I'll show you something, or they just might not talk to you at all. So
yeah. You're not ready. They think, oh, he's not ready yet. Keep going.
Yeah, and it's kind of like equivalent to like if you guys train in like BJJ or like open mat.
Right.
But every class is open mat. Like every day is open mat from like.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
5 o'clock till nighttime, and then it's just up to you to show up to the open mat. Because the teacher is going to be there every day, or their assistant or wherever to just like check up on people, and then they're just going to watch you at your open mat, and you're just going to work and train.
What's your advice about finding a Sifu in Hong Kong? Like someone who's out there, they want to find a Sifu. What are they looking for?
I think it's the same in Hong Kong, and because I train a lot in the mainland too. I've been doing that since high school. You have to expect to put more time in it than you expect. People think, unless it's a full-time school with like full-time students training all the time, it's not going to be what you expect and see in the West. You have to expect to have some warm-up time with the teacher, so they open up. Sometimes when I go train with a new Sifu, like when I used to go train with a new Sifu, say in the mainland, I would plan to go there for say 7 to 10 days as a trip. But the first 2-3 days, it might just be chatting, having tea. And then you'll talk to them, and then after like 2 hours of tea, they'll be okay, stand up, I'll show you something. Yeah. And then you might train the same move for an hour.
They want to know your character first.
Yes, and also when they teach in the traditional way, there aren't that many things they can teach you until you get to a certain level. Like you have to throw the 10 million punches, you have to swing like the 10,000 times, or you have to kick the 1,000,000 times before you're able to pick up stage 2 stuff. Yeah. Whereas in the West, it's like a syllabus, right? So I'm gonna learn this, and then I'm gonna learn part 2.
But you might not know it well. You just know you've went through it, and that's it.
You know it, but your body doesn't.
Yes.
And that's the, like, some styles say like Tong Bui Kun or like Tong Bei. They have, or one of my teachers, he told me like once you get to 1 million arm swings, you will start to understand the style. And then it'll take about a year and a bit. Like, oh, okay, like how many a day? Like maybe 1,000, 2,000, and you'll get to the basic level 1. So if the teacher's mindset is like that, you have to understand he would teach like that too. Say if the level 1 movement was 4 techniques, he would expect you to do the 4 techniques over time 1 million times. And then you'll be able to do part 2. He could show you part 2, but it'll never be level 2. And
so your body knows it.
So your body knows it. And this is the old school traditional way of thinking. And that's the same in Hong Kong too. But of course, if you go to a more public school, they might be showing you more stuff, but sometimes they show you more stuff at the start, and then they stop showing you stuff towards the end.
Is that to get you in, to stay all?
I don't know. It really depends on the teacher. It's kind of annoying. It really, like so point 1 is you have to expect to use more time to spend with your teacher. Like some people expect to be able to follow teacher A from 9 till 12 in the morning, follow teacher B from 1 till 5, and then maybe teacher C. But like we understand, you're flying over here to Hong Kong, you want to come for a trip and you want everything to be as intense as possible. But that's not what happens, because if you have a session from 9 to 11, some of the teachers might show up at 10. They train for 2 hours and then they want to take you to tea. And then you have to yum cha. Everybody yum chas in Hong Kong.
Wait, are they paying the bill, or is the Sifu pay, or that depends on what type of Sifu you have?
It depends on what type of Sifu you have, but for respect, it's normally the students who pay. Because if you have 10 students, the teacher's not going to pay for 10 people.
Is there a fake battle of the bill? Because people got to know this. Sometimes in Hong Kong culture or Chinese culture, you can offer to pay the bill, and then the Sifu or someone might say to you, "Oh no, I got it." Don't accept that first. That first thing's like a test. You have to pretty much say, "No, I got it," and insist. Because otherwise, he'll go. If the Sifu says, "I got it," you go, "Oh, okay." This guy. He's actually angry at you. He'll go home and tell his wife and go, "Oh yeah, don't teach him anymore."
That guy's not generous.
You cannot come to Hong Kong and measure things your way, because there are some societal rules that are completely different from the West. So it's like that
Fighting for the bill is important.
That is important. And then sometimes there's drinking rules, like if the teacher.
The cheers, right? Like when you cheers, if he's my Sifu, I will go lower, or my Sihang. Then I bring it lower. And what else is there?
There's a drinking thing. It depends on the teacher. Some teachers don't drink, but if you're drinking with your teachers, you always have to pour the alcohol to the teacher. But once after a couple drinks,
I think that applies to tea too. Like you got to pour the tea for your seniors.
Then you receive things in 2 hands and all that, and also you have to drink as much as your teacher drinks. So if he stops, you stop. If he doesn't stop, you keep going. It's but
unless you got health conditions, like don't kill yourself to do it. You tell them, they know. Like you say, like, "Oh, my health, I can't do it."
It's not so dissimilar from like in the West. Like if you're working and your boss takes you, you have a meeting with your bosses and stuff, and they take you out to like a company dinner or whatever. Like you order, like the food that you order is kind of like in the general same rate. You don't order like an appetizer to eat for your like dinner while they're having a steak or something like that, right? But when you don't overorder, you can't overorder. So you kind of stay within the same range as your seniors. Same in the West. Like if they're just drinking a beer, you're not gonna get like some high spirit like single malt whiskey something.
Exactly. It's on the company. It's on a company. So they should expect to spend more time with the teacher. They would have to warm up, and what the teacher promises to teach you might not exactly be what they're going to show you at the time. It's not like they're lying to you, but sometimes they see your level and they'll show you some things, and then they see your level and they might not show you other things. So it's hard. It's you have to get used. You have to find a teacher that you like, but it needs time. You need to spend time on it. There is no way that you could get to know somebody over a letter of introduction or an online video of him without spending time with him in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's true.
So some people on their first trip, they learn next to nothing. And then from their second trip onwards, they start learning more. You have to see if you have the patience or capacity or
Where do they find them? Because are they as like accessible on like Google and stuff as like say abroad, or?
There are certainly people you could find online, and there are also people that you can't.
Kung Fu Corner is a great place right on Sundays for people to just turn up if they want to see something, and if they like something, they can talk to the Sifus there, right?
Yes, and only if you want to talk to Sifu who are out in the open.
Because they're performing publicly.
Because those who aren't. You know what I mean?
So every Sunday there's Kung Fu Corner, and it's a free thing. You go to the Kowloon Park and you can go watch Kung Fu every Sunday.
It's 2 hours, from 2 to 4.
2 to 4,
Yeah, it's been on since 2000. I've been watching it since its inception. At the start, it was crazy because it was 2000s, right? All the grandmasters came up to demonstrate.
Yip Soi was there.
Yip Soi was there. He was. He did a crazy demonstration. Yeah. Oops! I just hit my mic. But no, because back then, before the Kung Fu Corner was created, people didn't have that many public demonstrations. The only public demonstrations they would go to would be the annual dinners. We'll talk about that in another podcast. The annual dinners or the gatherings, or like the
or someone hired your group to perform at a dinner or something like that.
You could only hire them to do line dance. You don't hire them to do or some like festivals like Tin Hao Dan where they demonstrate on the street. But there was never one place where people went to demonstrate every week, and Kung Fu Corner was one of them. And so when it first started, every style went there at least once. And whenever they went once, it was a very, very serious thing. Because it was the first time they were in public. They knew they were going to get videoed. Everything was serious. The grandmasters came out, the teachers came out. Everybody was watching you, because some people that you've only heard of are appearing in front of you now, finally. And then you get to see their Kung Fu.
I guess, it's a big deal.
It's a good point. Kung Fu Corner is a must go if you're visiting Hong Kong.
Here's another interesting thing. I remember I've seen people do this, and I think it's crazy, but it's worth bringing up, is when you go train somewhere or you meet a new Sifu or you're part of a new group or you're a guest, if you're in someone's Kung, don't show what you learned somewhere else.
Exactly what I was going to go.
Teaching another student something that you learned somewhere else if in front of that Sifu or whoever. It's not good manners to say, oh, we got a better way, or trying to school them.
No, I think it's more like you have to empty your cup if you're coming to learn. You have to expect to be a blank sheet, because it's too much ego if you're coming to tell them, oh, I've trained for 20 years, because you didn't train for 20 years in his style or her style. You trained for 20 years in your style. You're a baby in the new style that you're trying to learn. Or even if you knew the same style, you're a baby in his school or her school.
Right.
And you have to expect that. You also have to respect that. And it's not your place to tell them what you know, because they can tell when they watch you move. They can tell where you're at, they can tell what you can do and what you can't do. And even if you are the world champion of, I don't know, Kyokushin karate or I don't know, anything, if you're going to learn Tai Chi, you're a baby. If you go to learn Wing Chun, you're a baby too. Like you have to start from the start no matter what. It doesn't matter what you learn, you have to start from the very beginning.
For sure.
I think these things are unspoken, because even like when I went to another school and I did something and someone will feel it, they'll know, you can see it in their eye, or they'll even say something that you've done this before and you go, oh, a little bit. Be humble, just go, oh, a little bit. Oh, not much. Don't say, oh, yeah.
I've done 30 years of this style. I'm like, no, you don't do that. Yeah.
I mean, but is like equivalent, say, like if you had a judo or BJJ, you had a black belt, yeah, there's like an overalling body, like ruling body, which most Kung Fu styles don't have. But even then, it's like saying, like, you got a black belt from this guy, and I went to his gym, and like, I didn't get a black belt under him, you know? So like, like
you have to work your way up.
So he's got to say, no, you're a legit black belt. Like, so I can wait for the other guy to tell me, like the other teacher to tell me, like, no, you're legit, you're okay.
Where your level's
so
at.
Then, so he can gauge where you're at. But if you're constantly just showing off, he's like, this guy's like a good.
You annoy them and they'll get rid of you.
Yeah, he's annoying.
Yeah.
And like I said, they won't show you stuff, and it's a hint, like, see you, go.
Or it's going to be like, oh, you're a black belt? That means you already learned the whole system. I don't have to show you anything, because you learned everything.
Yeah.
So just train, you know, like, I won't teach you anything.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely, that's one point.
Things to look out for: charlatans, fake kung fu masters. How do you pick them out in Hong Kong? What do they look like? They're wearing a special T-shirt, a hat.
It's actually very hard to tell. If you've practiced martial arts for a long time, you could kind of tell, but it's very hard to tell. No, but that's not fair, because it's more a personality thing than a skill thing. Because you could have a personality, because I would say that a bad teacher would keep telling you that they're the best, nobody else has what I have. You won't be able to learn this anywhere else. You found the right teacher, nobody else is as good as me. I'm the best in the world. These are all like red flags. But these are red flags, but then at some point, some teachers do believe it too.
What about when they say you got to like 12 years before you even get to this level, but they learned the system in like 10 or something? You know what I mean? Like they go, oh, to get to this level will take 20 years or something. That's kind of...
That is one...
Numbers are crazy.
I think 20 years is a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But to be fair, when you're meeting a teacher who's done it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they understand things a bit more deeply. They probably thought they understood it at 3 years or 10 years when they finished the system, but they would honestly tell you that, oh, right now at this point in time, I think I was just shit. I can't swear on here, could I? And they would be like honestly telling you, like when I graduated, even after learning 10 years, I'm nothing compared to now. My understanding of the style now is this and that, and it will take you another 10 years to get there if you trained hard. That's one way of putting it. But the other way would be, let's say the forms, right? Let's say in Wing Chun, some styles in reality, Wing Chun, the 3 forms of wooden dummy and the weapons would take about 5 years to learn. The form itself, to understand and master the style, it would take a lifetime. But there is also no need to drag it out for 20 years, 30 years. You know. Hey guys, remember to like, share and subscribe, and follow my socials if you haven't already.